Hey, sisters.
I'm Kenneth.
And I'm Jaden.
And welcome to Getting Into the Tea. Today we have Mr. Castleline here. Have Mr. Castleline. Let me get my applause. Clap it up. Ooh, my applause not working today.
It went for me. It was.
Yes, clap it up.
All right.
All our fans out there, thank you. Calm down.
All right.
Okay, so first question. What is a saying you always tell your students?
Ooh, a saying that I always tell students. So back when I was in the classroom, actually still now, and you guys know, it's about attendance, showing up on time, coming every day on time, doing your work. It's the little things each day that's going to make you more successful. You try to play the makeup game at the end of the semester.
Yeah.
It's never going to end up well for you.
Right.
As some of you guys know, you get to the end and now all of a sudden the teacher's absent. And now
Exactly.
you can't get the grade. Like, you could try to blame the teacher, but you had all
Right.
semester. So
'Cause I didn't know how much attendance really mattered until, like, I feel like really even it's really happened like throughout school entirely, but like high school is so much more important because you can miss something in just one day. Like I feel like in middle school, elementary school, like they had like we was doing something for like multiple days, and then like high school is like you got this day to do this assignment, and then we're moving on to the next thing. It's like you always have to be here. Like you cannot miss a day. You have to always be here.
yeah, so typically the research shows that 90%, you want to be above 90% attendance. So if you need to visualize that in a 2-week period, you're at 10 school days. So if you miss one day, that's already 90%.
Wow.
And if you think about most
I never knew
students,
that.
most students miss more than one day over a 2-week
Yes.
period.
So like from you teaching here, like you can see the attendance, right? So like what is like the average percentage for like a lot of the students here?
Yeah, so let's look under the hood. Here's some of the nitty gritty. One of the data points the state and the school tracks is what they call proportional attendance. That's what percent of your students are at the 90% or above. And historically, not just East, but all of our signature or regular high schools are at like in the teens percent. So like 16 to 20% of students.
That's low.
That's it.
That consistently come to school?
Who are consistently coming to school above
Wow.
90%. So if you think about how can you be successful as a school, why do
Exactly.
you think we harp on attendance?
Exactly.
You can't be if we're all missing that much school.
Exactly.
Part of that, it's definitely down because of COVID. People have just gotten used to
Staying at home.
just staying home and whatever. So part of it's a relic of that. But
Especially now, because I feel like you always have to like bribe kids to like if you come like because like I know last year my sophomore year like I had perfect attendance and I was able to go on a field trip. It's like it's like kids like if you don't give them something they don't want to come, which is sad. But at the same time, it's like if that's what works, then that's what might have to happen. It's kind of crazy that even has to happen sometimes.
So, back to the original question, my sayings, I can't think of a specific saying, but I've always been about attendance, about showing up, being on
Yeah.
time, things like that, because it's important.
Okay.
So how do you get to know your students and how do you like understand them?
Yeah, day one as a teacher, I'm horrible at remembering names, so I have to be intentional. My first day, I do my whole spiel, and then I'm actually spending a lot of the rest of the hour like looking at names, looking at faces, having a conversation, so that way I get something about Kenneth, like, oh yeah, Kenneth is the boy that likes blah, 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 Have something that I can do that
Right.
connection, and just repeating it over and over. Once you are able to call out a student by name, they feel, hey, he actually cares about me.
Exactly.
And I think you guys have noticed that this year. I know a lot of students by
Yeah.
name because I have to be intentional because I'm bad at names. But even if you don't remember the name like in a moment,
Yeah.
you're just being respectful, having a conversation.
Exactly.
Hey, how are things going?
Exactly.
I like to start off with that. If I'm approaching a student in the hallway, even if I think they're skipping,
Yeah.
good morning.
Exactly.
Start off with that,
Right.
and then jump into, okay, what are we doing out here?
Exactly.
And I think that helps set a better tone Relationships is huge when you're trying to motivate students to do better in school.
Because I feel like it's a lot of teachers who don't know their students very well, and like they're trying to like be hard on them, but it doesn't really work because I don't have that relationship built yet to where it's like I'm hard on you because I actually care about you. It's a lot of teachers who like, well, you're just not getting your work done, and it's like it's not really like the relationship built there, and that's why I feel like some teachers don't feel like that they can get their students to do work because you haven't really built that relationship yet. Because because I feel like with a lot of my teachers, once they build that relationship with me, it's like, oh, I'm going to come to you. Can you help me? Can you make sure I'm doing this right? Because if you just have a teacher that you don't know for real, it's going to be hard to ask questions and like really get the answer because you might be nervous or like it's very different from different teachers.
Right. Okay, have you ever had an embarrassing or funny teaching moment? If so, when?
So I taught physics first, what a lot of you guys took as freshman year. That was my class. And so I loved doing labs. My students were always active. We were doing things so you could tangibly see what we're learning. And at the start of the year, we're learning about speed, movement, and those sorts of things. So we'd have a lab where students, the point was you would have somebody timing and you'd walk across, you'd sideways walk, you'd run, whatever, you're doing different times. And I'd always model for the students, here's how you do it. And because everyone's watching, I would always get made fun of, why do you walk so funny? And then as you guys would like to say, are you bow-legged?
Yes,
So-
oh my gosh.
Look.
I tell Cassie like that all the time. No,
I
she
don't
is
know.
too.
I am told that as a kid, I kind of sat with my legs tucked under me. So I'm guessing that had something to do with it. But I guess I walk funny.
It's okay, I do too.
I'm a little self-conscious about it, so don't mention it.
Okay, so when 220 hits, are you that type of teacher or principal that likes to leave everything at school, or do you sometimes take school with you and try to get things done?
Typically, I don't like taking work home. The work that I will take home is if it's sort of repetitive, mindless task, like it's just data, click, 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 click.
Exactly.
I'm fine doing that at home. I like to stick around until about 4 o'clock. That's when I need to leave to get my daughter anyways. So I use that time. If I'm productive, which is most days, I'm doing that to get caught up on stuff because the day we're just getting pulled in all sorts of different directions. As a teacher, I don't think I was as good as that. I feel like at the end of the day, especially if your day ends with a tough class, you just kind of sit there in your room. You're like,
Yes,
"Oh,
it's a
what
lot of
just
teachers who do
happened?"
that. They're like, ooh.
Ready to go.
So
Exactly.
you do have to be proactive, utilize your free time. You're not getting paid for anything past 2:20.
Exactly. That's the
So
crazy part.
It's really just about how do I want to make sure I'm preparing for my students to be the best.
Exactly.
There's lots of good movies out there with teachers. There's the Ron Swanson story, Freedom Riders, and what's the theme in a lot of these movies that have like a stellar teacher that turns these kids' lives on is the amount of hours they put in afterwards.
Exactly.
And not every teacher can do that. And so,
Exactly.
yeah.
So like when you're grading, like were you always like that type of teacher who's like, I'm gonna sit here and just like grade the work and so that I can go home, or like were you just like always like you just use your free periods to make sure that you got everything done?
I would definitely procrastinated on grading, and so then would have to do it in bulk. Those were some of the
Yeah.
tasks I would take home. You can always simplify it. You can be like, okay, I'm going to take these 2 assignments, and if I got a good one from a student, I've kind of merged those just to kind of condense the workload that I've got. So you can be smart as a teacher. You don't have to take every single paper handed to you and grade that.
Right.
Sometimes, actually, what students found, especially freshmen, I would just have like a stamp, and as students do their work, and
Exactly.
that
So you
was-
don't have to worry about trying to look
Right.
through the paper and make sure that they
Kids
answered
love the
everything.
stamps. They're like, give me my stamp. So sometimes you don't always need the grade. So trying to be strategic in what am I grading, what am I not.
Yeah.
Okay. What have you learned from your first year of teaching till now?
So picture this, a much younger me, much more naive me, starting my first year at Central High School. And I have a fight
Central.
that happens in my classroom the first week.
The first week.
The first week, I am so shaken, I can't even dial the 4 numbers to get security. I ended up just yelling out in the hall.
Oh.
So you talk about, you guys know me as me now.
Yeah.
The me that started at Central High School was somebody who's been through college and a nice high school. It was a public high school, but it was nice. I had hardly seen any fights growing up. So this is happening. I'm responsible. I don't know what's going on. So that was the me that started. You learn quickly in that environment. And by my second year, not only did I have a really good handle on my classroom, but I was also starting to support other people in the school. So
Exactly.
going in my second, third year, it starts to become, I enjoy the classroom, I like my students, but I'm also really like helping adults. And so that's kind of like I start to see myself as being more of a teacher leader more than just in the classroom.
Exactly, because sometimes I feel like when students are fighting, like you have to like, or like when you know that they're finna fight, you have to like let them, like sometimes there's teachers who like, I don't play that fighting in my classroom.
Yep.
Like y'all gotta cut it out. And I feel like some kids, they just don't care. That's why I feel like that's really important to have
Yeah.
that relationship with your students so
Yep.
that they know like, we're gonna have to, even though I don't condone fighting, but if you know your favorite teacher don't like that, you take it somewhere
It's
else.
a respect thing.
It's a respect
Yeah,
thing.
and as a teacher, new first year, you just don't recognize the signs. You just think these
Exactly.
kids are having an argument, and in your mind, oh, well, hey guys, just
Exactly,
stop.
because a lot of kids now, they were like, well, we were just playing, and it sounds like they're arguing, so you really
Right.
don't know sometimes.
So it was my second year. I was really proud that I didn't have a fight in my classroom, and that wasn't because there weren't issues. It was just I spotted it, and
Exactly.
it's like, hey, why don't you come with me outside?
Exactly.
You just separate it. Most kids don't want to fight. You'll
Yeah.
actually notice that the fight escalates as soon as an authority figure starts to separate,
Yes.
because now they know I can kind of start to show face
Right.
because someone's separating me. So that's what I noticed. The kids want you to separate them. They want to feel
Exactly.
safe.
Because also, I even feel like now teachers, sometimes like, it feel like I look at like a lot of times, especially from being here over the years, I feel like it's a lot of times like they press, I believe y'all have like a button on your badges. It's like they press the button, but it's like also, it's still like they have to take that like initiative to be a leader and actually try to break it up themselves. Because I know it's a lot of teachers who just don't do anything
And
but
just let you
exactly.
It's a learned. You got to learn that. So
Exactly, because I feel like a lot of teachers like, well, that's not in my job, but it's like at the same time, it's like, because what if it gets worse than what it really is? Because some kids,
You want to keep your
the
students
actual
safe.
now, once it gets into an actual fight is happening, teachers are told do not get in the middle of that because now
Yeah.
you get injuries,
Exactly.
and the district doesn't want to be liable. So, it's, hey, you're not the one trained. Don't do
Exactly.
it. So a lot of it's prevention.
okay. So what are some things that you feel like you did as a teacher or even as a principal now that you felt like some don't do?
I think I'm going to go back to the relationship building. That I think was the biggest part. I've never described myself as like the best teacher. I was a good teacher. Wasn't like the bomb or anything like that. What I had was that I built relationships. I was able to get buy-in from a student who, even if he struggled in all of his class, would be like, all right, I'll do your work,
Exactly.
So I think I've seen other teachers at other schools, so I'm not talking about anybody here, who was more of an authoritarian figure. You are going to do my work.
Exactly.
You know what? They
And
got
that's beneficial sometimes.
they got some results, but also what happened was like an exodus of students getting kicked out or leaving their class.
Right.
So at what
Exactly.
cost? And so there's always a balance. There's so much. Why I've continued to move forward. Maybe this answers the question better. How am I different than others? As a teacher, I saw all these barriers. I can only do so much with my students because of X, Y, Z. And so it was, okay, I want to move up to help other teachers. And then I got to do 3 years I worked at the district to help teachers across the board, trying to remove the barriers from teachers so that they can just teach. So that's, again, why I'm moving up into administration. How do I remove those barriers? Some of those you can do within the school, but some of it's cultural or
Yeah.
like it's outside the
Why
school.
did you want to be in administration more?
It's sort of a career trajectory. It's actually my last job was the one that was unforeseen. I didn't think I would get the science coordinator position, but it was a very useful 3-year period where I learned a lot about organization, networking, all the schools. Where administration came to play, like I mentioned, I started to support teachers. I found that really fulfilling. But also, the motivation is future planning.
Exactly.
I look at things within our district that could be fixed. Like I said, those barriers, things that stop teachers.
Exactly.
And in order to get to the district to fix those, being an admin, leading a building is how you get there.
Okay. Being a teacher, what are some of your favorite things about being one?
Okay, and this will have to be our last question because I've got it. We just heard the bell.
All right, lunch.
One of my
Yes.
favorite things, being a teacher or an admin, as a teacher, it was always doing engaging labs, setting something up, kids coming in, they're excited. What are we doing today? I get my hands
Exactly.
on them. Doing station labs was my favorite, where you have multiple stations and students rotate through it as the students kind of fill out a sheet. Because then you
That's another thing. If you get your kids excited to come to class, that's going to make them want to
Right.
come to school more. And I feel like a lot of teachers here and just even in other schools in general, they need to do that because that's very beneficial.
I've taught science, which is easier to do that
Yeah.
with. But if you have a lesson that's engaging,
Yeah.
your behavior problems drop, your phone usage drops.
Exactly.
It's not perfect, but you have something to direct students towards.
Exactly.
One of the hardest jobs I think in the district we have is a long-term sub who's coming in.
Yes.
And they're just kind of filling in, and it's like,
Yeah.
I hope you all just be nice. That's a tough job to
Yeah.
jump into.
Okay. So intro, this is the outro. So what's something that you want to get accomplished this week or next week?
I am so excited to close out the school year. As you guys know, I was over testing the amount of organization that goes into
like
that.
what was it, like 3-4 weeks?
It was 4
Long
weeks.
period.
Tracking data, all sorts of stuff, which I love, but it was a lot in my brain. So I'm making it through the rest of the year, and then I'm going to take a few days to just relax and be out there.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
All right, I'm Kenneth.
And I'm Jaden.
And thank you for getting into the tea with us. Bye.